Smith-Njigba with 1,313 yards. Now, when we look at the Seattle Seahawks all-time record, he is now number one. Welcome to Just the Stats NFL Top 10's for Thursday. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy the games, 3 games on Thursday. That's always better than just a one. So I hope you enjoy those. Very big games coming up, and we'll have to see how they go. But yeah, they're important games, these games today for Thanksgiving. So we'll take a look at those games. Actually, we'll take a look at them tomorrow and see what came out of them. But today we're going to talk about the top 10 teams going into this week. Big games coming up that might change the top 10. But for right now, we're going to take a look at the top 10. And we're going to look at some of the best players as far as quarterbacks and running backs go so far this season for season numbers. And then we'll see where we go from there. But in 30 minutes, that's probably all we're going to be able to accomplish. But we'll see what happens. So let's start off with the top 10 teams after week 12. All right. And we'll start at the top with the Los Angeles Rams. They are the new number 1 team. The Philadelphia Eagles had been number 1, but they dropped 3 spots in my top 10. And so the Los Angeles Rams now 9-2. They are number 1 for me in the NFL, number 1 ranked team. Now, I think they'll stay that way because they're playing the Carolina Panthers, even though it is in Carolina, but I don't expect them to lose that game. I mean, Stafford has been incredible. Devonte Adams, when they get down to the end zone, it's like you can just check off that a touchdown pass to Adams is going to happen. But it's been a very impressive team. Now, Denver Broncos, they stay the same. They're at number 2. And they're 9-2 as well. They're playing Washington in Washington. So we'll see that. I figure they'll win that game as well. But 9-2, I didn't move them up to number 1. I had the Los Angeles Rams jump over them to move to number 1 because I'm just so impressed with the way the Rams have been playing. And Denver Broncos, they have a great defense. It's their offense that I'm a little have a question marks about. I like Bo Nix, but the consistency is an issue that I don't see in the Rams. The Rams defense is good. It may not be as great as Denver's, but it's still a very good defense. But Stafford is just so impressive so far this year. So I got Denver Broncos at number 2. Number 3, the New England Patriots just keep winning. Though them and the Denver Broncos both are on long winning streaks. Patriots are now on a 9-game winning streak. And I don't care who you play. Winning 9 games in a row is very difficult to maintain that kind of just spark or whatever you want to call it to keep pressing every game and make sure you're up for every game, 9 games in a row. Just been very impressive team. Now, they played the New York Giants, so I figure they'll win that game. Obviously, when I say this, and I'm going to say this about all the teams, I might have them predicted to win, but somebody's going to lose. You just know it's going to happen. But right now, I've got the New England Patriots at 10-2. Those are your 3 teams, by the way, just so happens, all with only 2 losses actually so far. Next up, number 4, Philadelphia Eagles dropped from 1st to 4th with that loss to the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't drop them farther. I mean, I could have. I still think they've got a very good defense. Their offense is the question mark here, and they could drop even more. They play the Chicago Bears, and if they lose that game, wow, I'll drop them quite a bit. And if it's because of their offense, it's going to be something that causes me to drop them quite a bit. Probably not out of the top 10, but man, to lose 2 games. That game to Dallas, it just brings up a lot of question marks. So we'll see what happens with them coming into their next game with Chicago. Now, I got number 5, Seattle Seahawks. I moved them up 1 spot. They are now 8-3, and they're in number 5 spot. They play Minnesota, a game that I do think they'll win. Actually, by the way, I think the Eagles will beat Chicago, and which that'll be the biggest game on my list right here, one of the biggest games. But as far as Seattle goes, moved them up 1 spot, and now they play Minnesota. We'll see if they can move up farther. And obviously, anybody above them, especially the Eagles, if they drop, Seattle will move up. But you've got Seattle and the Rams and the 49ers. I've got them all in my top 10. They're all from the same division. That just shows you how powerful that particular division is. Now, at number 6, I do have the Chicago Bears. I moved them up 1 spot. I tell you, I was reluctant to get them in here, but I can't pretend that they're not winning these games. And no matter, like I said before, you win the games. It's not always pretty, but somehow this Chicago Bears team keeps winning. They're 8-3, and they got a real test this Sunday against the Eagles. So we'll see. The Eagles and the Chicago Bears, my number 4 and number 6 ranked team. One of them is going to definitely drop down in the list. Now, if it's a close game and the Chicago Bears lose, but a very close game, I won't drop them too far. I mean, if they play Philadelphia Eagles tough, then we'll see. We'll just have to watch the game and find out kind of how to take the game and how the game goes to determine who moves where on this list. Now, number 7, Indianapolis Colts. I dropped them 3 spots with their loss. They are now 8-3. They play Houston, a big game for them and for Houston especially, to maintain Houston's hopes of even getting in the playoffs. That's a big game. It's Indianapolis, so there's a chance they win that game. I don't know, man. Houston, after watching them last week, they're a scary defense, one of the best. Them and Denver. I mean, Denver is an impressive defense, but Houston was just hounding the team last week. So we'll see. I do like the Colts, though. I mean, with a week off, we'll see what happens with them. But they're 8-3. Now, number 8, San Francisco 49ers. Moved them up 1 spot. They are now 8-4. Now, they play at Cleveland. That's a game they should win that game. Man, McCaffrey, he's just a workhorse. And then you've got Kittle. Now, Purdy had a bad game last week, but that's his first game back, so I expect to see a lot better game out of him against Cleveland, even though Cleveland's another defense that is just impressive, very impressive defense. I believe they had 10 sacks against the Raiders last week. That's just crazy. Raiders should have just said, we're just going to hand the ball off every time to get away from the sacks that kept coming their way. All right, so I do pick the 49ers to win that game. Now, Green Bay Packers on the top 10 list again this week. I had them out. I've had them on, out, back in. They're 7-3-1, and they play at Detroit. Detroit was in the top 10 last week, and 2 weeks ago, I dropped them out of the list. They are now, I believe, 8-4. But they're not my top 10. They just can't be. They're just inconsistent. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't even like really putting the Green Bay Packers in here, but they are winning. And Detroit will probably be back in the top 10 if they beat the Green Bay Packers. And honestly, I don't know what to think about this game. Detroit has looked really good sometimes, and then they lose these games, and it's the same with the Packers. I don't know what to think of them. They're very inconsistent. I don't like the Packers offense. I don't like the Detroit's defense. And then I don't like when Goff is pressured and he can't handle that. He just can't seem to handle it. And Packers could put some pressure on Goff, and we'll see what happens if they do. I mean, this game is really Jahmyr Gibbs has to have another huge game. The Detroit Lions almost lost to the New York Giants. I mean, I don't know. So we'll see what happens. Green Bay Packers, they've lost some crazy games too. But anyway, I do have the Packers at number 9. Now, number 10, surprise team here and probably a little homerism, but I got the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 10. They're 7-4. They're at Tennessee. I do expect them to win that game. I put them in the top 10 because they have beat some good teams. They've beat Kansas City. They've beat San Francisco. Kansas City's not on the list, but everybody thinks Kansas City's the best team around. Nobody wants to play them if they make it into the playoffs. That kind of a talk. You hear it all the time. They beat the San Francisco 49ers, who are in the top 10. So now they have 2 of their losses were against the Rams and the Seahawks, 2 of the top 5 teams, and that one of them's the number 1 team. So they've played some tough games, but they've come out winning a lot of them. So I'm going to put them at number 10, see if they can hang in and stay in this top 10 list. We'll see what happens. But that's my top 10 list for now. Los Angeles Rams, number 1 this week. I felt like putting them up there before, but I had put the Eagles up there. Eagles hadn't lost, so I said, all right, let's just leave it. But just watching the games, I'm thinking, man, the Rams are just incredible. When they want to, they seem unstoppable. And I have not felt that way about the Eagles. So I'm kind of happy to see the Eagles lose in a way so I can get Rams up there. And I think they deserve it. All right, let's take a look at some of the season top 10s. We'll start with the passing yards. Start with his quarterbacks and the passing yards. Drake May, how impressive is he? Only his second year, but right now he's leading the NFL in passing yards with 3,130. Only player right now with over 3,000 yards. Patrick Mahomes is second with 2,977. They're your top 2 right now. Now, for a case for MVP, right now, Matthew Stafford, who still has another game, I think, to catch up. I'll have to look at that. But he's got 2,830 yards. He's 5th right now in the NFL in passing yards. Now, talking about the Bears and how I just don't get, how they're winning, but they are winning. Caleb Williams is now in the top 10 as far as passing yards. Just made his first appearance on the list. He's number 10, but he's on the list. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Justin Herbert, just one more to mention before we move on. He was number 1, and he slowly dropped. He had a huge drop the last 2 weeks. Of course, he didn't play last week, but the week before he had like 81 yards. He's dropped all the way down to number 9. They have no offensive line to protect him. All right, so Drake May, number 1 in passing yards with 3,130. Now, looking at passing touchdowns, again, so I only mentioned Matthew Stafford in the yardage. He's number 5 there. He's number 1 in touchdown passes. 30 touchdown passes already. Second is Jared Goff for the Lions and Dak Prescott for the Cowboys. They have 23 apiece. 7 more touchdowns than the second best players. That's incredible. Just amazing, really. The lead he has right now. Now, Drake May is 4th with 21. So those are a couple of players when you're looking at MVP. I still think it's Stafford right now, but he's just been so impressive. Now, Sam Darnold's new on the list, jumped all the way up to number 7. He's got 19. He really had a good game last week after the week prior when he had 4 interceptions. He came back with a pretty good game last week, even though it was against the Tennessee Titans. Also new on the list, Josh Allen has 18, and Baker Mayfield also has 18. So, but 18, that's the bottom end of the list. That's 12 away from Matthew Stafford's at the top of the list. He's been so good so far. 30 interceptions, and I think he's got like 30 touchdowns, and I think he's got like 2 interceptions, something like that. So right now, when we're looking at Matthew Stafford, when we're looking at the Rams season, all-time leaders, top 10 for the season for the Los Angeles Rams in passing touchdowns, Matthew Stafford now, he was in 9th already through only 10 games, now 11 games. He was ninth. He had 27. He got 3 more. He's got 30. He jumps up to a tie with Vince Ferragamo with 30 touchdown passes. Sixth. So he's in sixth. This is, was still with 6 games to go. I mean, that's incredible how well he's played. And the leader, he holds the record himself with 41. So he only needs 11 more touchdown passes. He's actually tied Matthew Stafford, Kurt Warner, who did it in 1999. They both have 41. So Matthew Stafford needs 11 more touchdowns. Now, Stafford is close to averaging 3 touchdowns a game. That's how well he's played so far. Little under 3, but still a pretty hefty number of touchdown passes per game. All right, now looking at interceptions, the other end of the list here. Tua Tagovailoa and Geno Smith continue to hold the lead. They both have 13. They both had 13 last week. They still have 13 interceptions. I think actually Geno Smith might have had 12 and now he has 13. But either way, they both have 13 interceptions to lead the NFL. Now, Trevor Lawrence only had 8, which still would have put him in the top 10. Had 3 last week. Really very difficult game for him, even though the Jaguars were able to pull it out in overtime. But Trevor Lawrence had 3 interceptions in that game. He now has 11, so he's in third place. Sam Darnold has 10. And he's along with Joe Flacco, J.J. McCarthy, they all have 10. McCarthy's looked horrible. Wow. Vikings probably are just thinking we made a huge mistake with what we had to pay to get him. And Joe Flacco, he's done now, I believe. Joe Burrow will be playing on, I think, Thanksgiving. He'll be playing Thanksgiving in place of Joe Flacco. So Joe Flacco, he'll probably ultimately drop off this list. Now, new to this list, and somebody who was never anywhere near this last year, is Josh Allen. He's got 9 interceptions so far this season. Well, just not having the season at all like he had last year. And by the way, neither is Lamar Jackson. Those were the two fighting it out for MVP last year, with Josh Allen winning. But neither one is having a season that's anywhere near MVP status, I don't think. Especially Lamar Jackson. And Josh Allen's just not having a good season either, really. Not one of his better ones. Now, Bryce Young also was new to the list with 9 interceptions. So that's your top 10. As far as interceptions go, Tua Tagovailoa and Geno Smith, both with 13, lead the NFL this season in passing interceptions. All right, another negative category, and that's quarterback, how many times a quarterback's been sacked. Cam Ward's led this category for quite a while, and he still does with 45. But Geno Smith made a very strong effort to get up there with Cam Ward when he was sacked 10 times. And I got to look that up. I don't know how many times the most a quarterback's been sacked, what the record is. That could be the record. I will look that up and let you know tomorrow. But Geno Smith was sacked 10 times. He's now in second place as far as sacks go. So Cam Ward has 45 times he's been sacked. Geno Smith, 41. And Drake May is third with 37. He slowed down his pace, only got sacked once last week, which is really something good to see. Josh Allen, again, wow. You talk about Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith was sacked 10 times, but Josh Allen was sacked 8 times. Wasn't even in the top 10 list at all. But being sacked 8 times put him up all the way to number 6. So he debuted at number 6 on the quarterback sacked list with 28. And then Jacoby Brissett last week was sacked a few times. He now is tied for 9th with Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Jacoby Brissett. Now listen to those names. These are some of the best quarterbacks. If you ask anybody who name, say, the top 3 quarterbacks, it's often Mahomes, Jackson, and Allen. They're all in the top 10 as far as times being sacked. Not having the years that they're used to. Now, when we're talking about Cam Ward, as far as Tennessee Titans go, right now, he came into the game tied in fifth place, tied for fifth as far as most times being sacked for a Tennessee Titan. He had 4 more, so he's got 45. That jumps him up. He's now in fourth place. Only 1 sack away from Warren Moon for third, and 2 sacks away from Warren Moon and Ryan Tannehill to tie for first as far as most sacks go. And at the rate he's going, I fully expect him to get sacked at least enough times to move into the first place spot all time for the Tennessee Titans as far as quarterbacks being sacked. Not a number you want to see, but definitely something that I believe will happen. If it doesn't happen this week, which I really think it will, it'll happen next week. All right, Jonathan Taylor leads the NFL this season in rushing yards. He's got 1,197. James Cook is his nearest competitor with 1,084, so a little over 100 yards away. Was farther away going into this last week, but Jonathan Taylor did not have a very good game. But Jonathan Taylor is still averaging over 100 yards a game. Only player doing that right now is Jonathan Taylor. Jahmyr Gibbs had a huge game, jumped him way up the list. He's now third with 951. But Jonathan Taylor is leading the NFL in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. Very impressive year. He was one of my candidates. If you got away from a quarterback, Jonathan Taylor was one of my options. But, with a bye week and then with this last game not really producing, he's fallen way off, and I don't really consider him at this point in time an MVP candidate. If you're going to go non-quarterback right now, it's Jaxon Smith-Njigba is the only player I think that would have any chance against a quarterback, and we'll talk about him later. Now, 2 newcomers to this list are Travis Etienne for the Jaguars. He was on the list at the very beginning of the year for the first few weeks, dropped off the list for a while, but he's back on. He had a big game again. He's really been putting up some decent numbers, had over 100 yards of scrimmage. He's got now 815 yards this season, which is good enough for 9th spot this season in the rushing yards category. And Christian McCaffrey now in the top 10. Now, I should mention, by the way, he is another candidate, honestly, for MVP. Christian McCaffrey now is 10th in rushing yards with 796, making his debut on this list of top 10 players. So you do finally see a couple of the big names on here from last year. Derrick Henry's 6th. The one name that's not anywhere near here and has not really had a good year at all after last year is Saquon Barkley. Doing all right in receiving by a running back, but that's it. Now, looking at rushing touchdowns, Jonathan Taylor, like I said, still leads this category with 15 rushing touchdowns. Josh Jacobs for the Packers has 11. Josh Allen, 10. And then Jahmyr Gibbs had a couple last week. He has also got 10 now. So big move by Jahmyr Gibbs in rushing yards and touchdowns to move up this list. Derrick Henry had another couple. He's got 9. Man, he's got 115 rushing touchdowns in his career, which is like 5th or 6th in the NFL all time. Now, new to this list is another quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He's got 8. So you've got Josh Allen with 10 and Jalen Hurts with 8. 2 names there that, that tush push has really helped Hurts, but Allen just gets his, doesn't need the tush push to get a touchdown. All right. Now, rushing yards by quarterbacks. Nobody's really just running away with this, I should say, this category. Justin Fields leads it. Despite the fact that he didn't even play last week, he's still number 1 with 383 yards. Josh Allen's second with 371. Those are your top 2. And it's really not moving too much. I mean, Justin Herbert's still third, and he didn't even play last week. He's got 345. And everybody on this list is the same 10. The only change was Patrick Mahomes leapfrog Jaxon Dart, who's 5th now. And Dart didn't play. And he's still 5th right now in the NFL. So not a lot of changes going on here. Jaden Daniels is still on the list, and he didn't play. He's 9th. So it just tells you the numbers aren't moving too much in this category right now. All right, now let's look at receptions. Believe it or not, and this is only because Jamar Chase was stupid, spitting on another player. I don't care. Ramsey does talk a lot and is very annoying. Jamar Chase spit on him and was couldn't play last week. He was forfeited 1 game for the spitting incident. So he didn't play. Well, that cost him his lead in receptions. And now the new leader is Christian McCaffrey. The running back from the 49ers has 81 receptions to lead the NFL. Puka Nacua and Trey McBride, as well as Jaxon Smith-Njigba, all have 80 receptions. They're tied for 2nd. And then Jamar Chase has 79. So it only dropped a little bit in position. And with Burrow back, he may be able to overtake everybody and be back in 1st after this week. But Christian McCaffrey, 81, leading the NFL in receptions, and is in the top 10 in rushing yards. Incredible right now. And, of course, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, we'll see his yardage totals, but he's incredible too. Now, George Pickens is new to this list with 67 receptions now. And then Wan'Dale Robinson with his big game last week against Detroit has 66 receptions to be 9th. And then Jake Ferguson for the Cowboys is 10th with 65. Now, Jake Ferguson was way up at the top of the list. He's almost off it now. But you do have 2 Cowboys on this list, George Pickens and Jake Ferguson. That's the only team with 2 players in the top 10 as far as receiving goes. And you notice I didn't mention CeeDee Lamb. That's incredible. I know he was hurt, but you wouldn't expect me to be saying Pickens and Ferguson. Maybe Pickens and Lamb, but not Pickens and Ferguson. Now, when we're looking at receptions for Seattle, I wanted to get to this because Jaxon Smith-Njigba has 80 receptions, only needs 1. So I brought this up. He's in 11th right now, 11th place. So he's not actually a top 10 in receiving or in receptions for the Seattle Seahawks, but he's only 1 away. So you figure he'll be in the top 10 after this next game. He holds the record for Seattle Seahawks along with Tyler Lockett for most receptions in a single season. They both have 100. Is that not amazing that no one has more than 100? But 2 players have 100, and he's one of them. Well, he needs 20 more receptions in the next several games. I don't see any way he won't break his own record unless he's hurt. But he's got 80 receptions, so I figured I'll share that top 10 with everybody. Now, one of the things I found interesting, because we're going to look at another number here where he stands as far as receiving yards, but Steve Largent is not on this list anywhere. He's one of the best receivers in the history of the NFL. He's not in this list anywhere as far as most receptions in a single season. But when we look at receiving yards in a single season, he's all over the place on that. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, looking at receiving yards, Jaxon Smith-Njigba leads the NFL by quite a bit with 1,313 yards receiving. Next is George Pickens with 1,054. The only players over 1,000 yards right now. Puka Nacua is 3rd with 947. Now, new to this list is tight end Trey McBride with 797. He's had 2 big games in a row. It's really pumped him up this list quite fast. And Wan'Dale Robinson had a big game as well for the Giants. He's now got 794 yards to premiere on this list at number 9. And again, Christian McCaffrey is number 10. He's number 10 in rushing yards. He's number 10 in receiving yards. He's got 785 receiving yards. So he's got more combined yards than anybody in the NFL. And we'll look at that tomorrow. But those are your top players. Smith-Njigba with 1,313 yards. Now, when we look at the Seattle Seahawks all-time record, he is now number one. After last week, he jumped all the way to number one in receiving yards in a single season. He's going to crush this record. I don't even know how far he'll get ahead of what the old record, which was held by DK Metcalf with 1,303. So he broke it by 10, but he's still got all these games left. So we'll see where he ends up ultimately. Now, I was talking about Steve Largent. Steve Largent is on the top 10 list 5 times. 5 of the top 10 spots belong to him. Not number one spot. He held the number one spot for 35 years before DK Metcalf came along in 2020 and broke it. And now 5 years later, Smith-Njigba breaks DK Metcalf's record. But what a model of consistency. 5 times he's in the top 10 as far as yardage. And the reason he's up here but not in receptions is because he averaged 15, 16, 17 yards a season. So his yardage was up there as well as yards per catch, which made up for the fact that he wasn't getting 100 receptions to get to that total number. But Jaxon Smith-Njigba is one of my MVP possibilities. It's slim. Right now it's Stafford, I would say, but it's a possibility. He's had a very incredible season. And he's on a pace, we'll look at it, to set the NFL record for most yards in a single season. And if he does that, wow, that could be something very special. Receiving touchdowns. Again, if your quarterback is leading the NFL in touchdown passes, it's a possibility that you have a receiver on that same team who's leading the NFL in receiving touchdowns. Well, you got Matthew Stafford throwing the touchdowns and Devonte Adams catching him. He's got 12 to lead the NFL by 3 over Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions, who has 9. At Devonte Adams, 12 interceptions, had another 2 last week. George Pickens has 8, and then you just go down the list. A bunch of players with 7. Now, again, you have George Pickens and Jake Ferguson with both in the top 10. That's impressive. I always feel that's pretty special. Jaxon Smith-Njigba's tied for 4th with 7 with a bunch of other players. So not only is he getting yards, but he's getting a fair amount of touchdowns as well. Now, looking at Devonte Adams for the Los Angeles Rams, he is now number 5 all-time in receiving touchdowns for the Los Angeles Rams with 12. The record's held by Elroy Hirsch with 1951. He had 17. So Devonte Adams needs 5 more. He's averaging a little over 1 a game. So he's on a pace to catch that, to break the record. But we'll see. It's easier said than done, even though he's gotten this far so far. You still need to have some good games because there's probably going to be a game where he doesn't have a touchdown, so he may need to have another game where he has 2. But right now he's been very impressive. We'll stop there, call it a day, and we'll talk about the running backs as far as receiving goes next time. So, appreciate you listening. Hope you enjoy the games tomorrow. Man, they're big games. You've got 3 games on Thanksgiving Day. Green Bay versus Detroit. I mean, that's a huge game. It's divisional rivalry. It's going to flip-flop who's in first in that division. And then if Chicago loses, you'll see a new first-place team again, depending on which of these teams win. The next game up is Kansas City versus Dallas. Both of these teams are fighting for a playoff spot. I mean, KC's 6-5, and Dallas is 5-1. So the records are very similar. It's in Dallas, but they both have to win, honestly, to stay in the hunt to make the playoffs. Neither one's in the playoffs. And so they're going to have to win to have any chance. I mean, we're getting deep into the season. They both played 11 games, 6 to go. They lose this game, either one of them, it really hurts their chances. And the same goes with Cincinnati versus Baltimore. Now, Cincinnati's only 3-8, but Baltimore's 6-5. It's not like they're that far ahead. I mean, it's a 3-game lead. Cincinnati wins this game, they cut it to 2, and there's a possibility that they at least stay in the playoff hunt. Now, they got Burrow back. We'll see what happens in that game. So those are some games we'll talk about tomorrow. We'll see how they go. Actually, we'll talk about on Friday. We'll talk about them, and it'll be fun to see where they stand after their Thanksgiving Day games. All right. Appreciate you listening. Please like and subscribe. Obviously, the best place, or because you can see all the charts and stuff, is to go to YouTube at Just the Stats NFL. You can see all these top 10 lists I've got. I'll have them all on the video version of this podcast. And so if you want to see the numbers and just compare the top 10 players in whatever category I was talking about today, you'll see it. See my top 10 list. Who's the top 10 teams that I've talked about earlier. And but you can also listen to it through YouTube or Spotify, Apple, or whatever podcast app you have. Please listen, subscribe, like, comment. All those things are great. Appreciate you doing all that. And again, I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving. And that is a wrap for this episode of Just the Stats NFL Top 10s for Thursday. So I'm out.